Before we start the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the support I received from you. And as always, all the information in my videos is rumors taken from the internet or the street. I'm not saying the information is fact.
Pick your mans up.
And just because people used to come through shooting at us every day. And this block, words can't even explain, man. Can't even explain.
Yeah, man. Let's go to Valley 05 way on money.
Young Money, man. They in the building.
600 boy, LA, man. LA Capone, man. Get it to him, man. Those two boys, man.
Number 9, man. Number 9, shooter, you hear me?
Hey, bitch, little bitch. Yeah. Fuck is wrong with you? Hey, I am Brick Squad. Brick Squad, boy. Fuck is you talking about, man?
You have to be willing to die or go to jail for 100 years if that's the lane that you're stepping in. You have to understand that whether you're 15, 16, you got to think like a man. You know what I'm saying?
So don't be in it. Oh, you're not? Why does everybody say you're only 16 years old?
They say what they want to say.
How old
How old are you?
300.
The history of Jaro City. This is the story of Jaro City, how it was formed and some short stories about their members. As most people probably already know, Jaro City is mainly located on 62nd and Vernon, but their territory extends from 61st to 63rd and Vernon. Jaro City has not always been what it is today. Before Jaro City got together as one back in 2010, Jaro City was very divided and divided into different small groups and cliques. There was ABM, who both claimed GD and BD, Darkside who only claimed BD, Cobb who was GD, the Outlaws who were Outlaw GDs, BSG who were GDs, and then there were more loose groups that claimed Hottie World after Hottie was killed by D-Thang from 600 in late September 2008. This is the reason why several famous members like Motor and Skinny claimed BD, or Tell who claimed Cobb. Cobb and ABM are the only ones left of the small groups that members actually still claim. Back in 2003 to 2004, when gun violence in Chicago was not as bad as it is today, the area today known as Jaro City focused on hustling, just like the majority of the sets back then. It was all about the money back then. The biggest group in the area back then, as members still reps today, was ABM. They made huge amounts of money. They had all the guns and drugs. A big reason for this was that there was no tension between the groups. All got along with each other with one single goal, making money. They had no war on their hands just yet. However, ABM was notorious for throwing huge parties, and back then, since the violence was not that bad, there were not really any all GD or all BD parties. This worked at the time, and this is why several members from Jaro, O-Block and 600 knew each other. For example, T-Roy and Ed-Dog hung out with Motor and Skinny from Jaro. However, some of these parties ABM and other groups were throwing, and would have guys from sets that already had beef. Sets like Moose Block and Pax Town, Pocket Town and Sircon City Gangsters. Because of this, robberies and fights started to break out, and like always in Chicago, you almost always have to pick a side. Wars were already starting to pop off over east where Pocket Town and Sircon City reside. ABM and other groups had a lot of East Side affiliates and were cool with a lot of sets that were beefing with each other. Jarvis, for example, which we will be coming to soon, was cool with several members from Sircon City but also guys from Pocket Town. One member Jarvis was cool with was Lil Lay from Pocket Town, which many do not know. They actually hung out with each other, which was no wonder because Jarvis was moving around with members of Pocket Town. Because of Jarvis hanging out with Pocket Town's enemies from Sircon City, even after the side picking became a trend slowly but surely, it was almost as if he was picking them over Pocket Town, even if that may or may not have been the case. Fast forward to December 2005, there was a house party happening that ABM and Sircon were present at. Lay and a few other members from Pocket Town wanted to get in. However, Jarvis, someone who was supposed to be their friend, told them no. Here it became quite clear to Lay and the other Pocket Town members that Jarvis obviously chose Sircon City over Pocket Town. However, from my point of view, it could have been because he did not want anything to go down at the party. What's actually surprising here is that Jarvis actually had the courage to say no to Lil Lay, a member who had the whole East Side in fear, with 5 to 7 bodies under his belt and several attempted murders. Jarvis himself was not a shooter nor a killer, but he did have a reputation of getting locked up for guns. However, many people did not think Jarvis turning down Lay and the others was something strange, because if he had let them in and something had gone down at the party, it would have been his fault. However, Lil Lay did not think so. He felt that Jarvis chose Sircon over them and had picked his side. Lil Lay and the others left the party, but they did not leave for good. They left, got their guns, came back and shot Jarvis and his face, who were left dead at the party. Apparently, at the party there were only members with GD affiliation. It was even GDs from Brick City. Keep in mind, this was before the beef. It was actually hard to believe that Lil Lay actually killed Jarvis due to the fact that Lil Lay used to help members from ABM to rob, fight and shoot people from Jaro City once their beef took off. Lil Lay was one of the city's biggest bullies and has reportedly continued with that behavior in prison. There was no great extent of revenge after the murder of Jarvis, at least not to the extent as we see today. It may have been because gun violence was not as common at the time as it is today. At that time, members could still solve problems by talking to each other. They were not as excited about Get Back as we can see today after the Get Back gang era. After the murder, Lil Lay still came through shooting up ABM over and over. In the end, however, ABM retaliated by killing Lil Albert from Pocket Town, but it would quickly backfire on ABM as Pocket Town got rid of another member. After this, ABM pretty much waved the white flag because many of their members were not into sliding as they are today. For them it was still about money and drugs. The years around 2007 to 2010 were the time when all the gangs got their hands on a lot of weapons, because the freight trains always lost the gun crates, which meant that weapons now flowed in through all areas of the city. Around 2007, Jaro City put its hands on a large part of the weapons, so now there was no need to fight anymore. Now Jaro City could also let other gangs know that they will not get away as easily as Pocket Town got away after the murder of Jarvis. They could not bully Jaro anymore. Around this time, both Young Money and Brick City were pretty close and pretty much teamed up on Jaro, which meant Jaro had 2 gangs to avenge after shootings. Later Squirt Town was also involved after several of their members were shot when they hung around Brick City. Squirt Town was later avenged by shooting one of the big guys from Jaro City, and then it was pretty much over with for them. Jaro started coming through shooting at them nearly on a daily basis. Another one of Jaro City's first wars came from when the rappers from BSG, Reese Gezzy for example, got into personal altercations with Princeton Mob. It is even rumored that Reese killed Scoob from their block, which later resulted in the deaths of Hood from Jaro City, Puff from BSG and Lil Wood from Crash Town. However, The war between Princeton Mob and Jaro City took off quite quickly due to the fact that the wars with their main enemies got more serious, which shifted their attention from each other. Jaro City had a lot of big members back in the days. Most of them are dead today, but at that time they really used to bully Wick City and Brick City. One member who was one of Jaro City's most active members, along with 50 Shot, was Dome. He was even giving Pocket Town a hard time when he came through their block several times for Jarvis. Dome is the one who taught Lil B, Lil Daryl, Motor, Boss Trell and Lil Mike how to shoot. He also gave his younger sister Booby her first guns so she could protect herself. Back when Dome was free and alive, he used to take younger guys with him to shoot up TYMB. Dome was ruthless in the streets. Around the beginning of the beef with Jaro City, he allegedly killed Stanley together with 50 Shot and Cho. Later on, he would allegedly kill slow folks from Squirt Town. As you already know, it was Dome that in 2011 killed one of 600's founders, D-Thang, and got even charged and booked for the murder. Dome did not actually go out looking for D-Thang on a daily basis as many made it sound. Most of Dome's encounters with 600 were shootouts with 600 Breezy and D-Day, and around 2010 he got shot by Stello in the midst of sliding on Brick City. Dome was also one of the members getting shot at by Inky D when D-Thang took him on this first drill. In the early summer of 2011, 600 and Jaro City agreed on a truce between the gangs, and that truce stemmed from a shootout between 50 Shot and Lil Boo, and not because of what 600 claimed, that they gave Jaro hell. The shootout between 50 Shot and Lil Boo, where several bullets hit a school bus, was not the only reason that led to the agreement, but also that the police had a good view of the war between the gangs and planned to hit both sides with a RICO. That alone was the reason both sides actually honored the truce several months. However, the truce did not stop the members from getting into fights or robbing each other. The only thing they refrained from was shooting. D-Thang, who was a bit like a maniac, used to cycle through Jaro City's turf during this time because he thought it was fun to scare them and see them run, even though he did not intend to do anything due to the truce. However, D-Thang still robbed a few guys like King Lil J and also took DB's shirt. Because of D-Thang being so passive-aggressive, Jaro was kept on edge, which is why Tutu and Lil Daryl would walk DB home just in case. They did not trust D-Thang would actually honor the truce this long. Once Baldy was killed by Domo from Mob in the summer of 2011, 600 turned their attention to Mob. D-Thang's name was extremely hot in 2011, and since the truce with Jaro was still on, he instead started to slide on Mob and allegedly killed Crystal in the midst of trying to kill Jamo. However, Jaro had not forgotten what he had done to them, with him killing both Dalvin and Hottie. However, all the top guys from Jaro were laid back at the time, as well as the shorties, and if they were sliding, it was on O-Block. After a long time of bullying by D-Thang, Dome decided to step up and do something about it. However, he was not the only one to step up. He had already taken Boss Drell under his wing, and he was a heavy shooter already, drilling at DYMB in Zone 7, so he was down to ride with Dome to kill D-Thang, which they did, and killed him in the truce. According to police, Dome is said to have said, "This is for Hottie." Dome was later charged and booked for the murder. Recently, in the summer of 2021, he committed suicide in jail. The truce was now dead between the gangs. Just 2 weeks after D-Thang's murder, 2-2 from Jaro allegedly killed Jizzle from Squirt Town. In the past, all of 2-2's attention went more toward TYMB until Rondo and Tay Capone would keep getting into it with him, which actually led to Jizzle's death when he thought he belonged to Brick City or 600. Jizzle's faced a horrible death. He was surrounded by 6 people: 2-2, Butta, Dutchie, Lil B, Young and Jakira. He begged for his life before Lil B and 2-2 allegedly killed him. Just 2 months after the assassination of D-Thang and Jizzle, 600 retaliated when C-Day allegedly killed 2-2. This was actually the second time in a short time that 600 caught 2-2 lacking. Just a few months earlier, Rondo No. 9 and Tay Capone had caught 2-2 in exactly the same alley, smoking weed together with Lil Corey. That time, 2-2 escaped. However, Lil Corey was shot by Tay Capone and fortunately survived. This alley was a hot spot with Jaro and STL/EBT members. They often hung out in that alley, smoked and took photos. In 2012, the war between Jaro City, 600 and O-Block exploded with bodies dropping left and right, and the war only got worse year after year and is still going on today. One big reason why the war got worse was that Bite Down, Rondo No. 9, Manny and C-Day shot up 2-2's funeral. They planned on killing any member there, however most of the attendees were family. There were only a few members at the funeral. 600 bailed out pretty quickly due to the fact it was mostly family and innocent people around. The preacher at the funeral has talked about this funeral and said he still has PTSD to this day. Many thought that 600 crossed the border, and after this, the war escalated. 50 shot from Jaro caught White from O-Block, which made King Von turn up on Jaro with killing P5, shooting Tuan and Gucci, shooting a Jaro City member in the face at Boss CJ's birthday party, and constantly coming through shooting at them. Now both Dome and 50 Shot were in jail, Dome for killing D-Thang, and 50 shot for killing White. Now the younger generation emerged that Dome had previously taken under his wing. People like Motor, Skinny, Lil Jaro, Lil B, Boss Trell and Lil Mike started to put in major work. Motor originally came from Wiz City and still remained cool with them despite joining Jaro City. It's completely crazy that Boss Trell, Motor, Skinny and Lil B are out of the picture today. Nearly every member who was active in 2012 is today dead. As most of you already know, Jaro City is still active today. Around the year 2014, Taekwon World was formed, which is a branch of Jaro City, and which is very active but also lost many members. New wars and alliances have started today, largely due to the murders of FBG Duck and Melly. This is the story was more about the beginning and not contemporary Jaro City. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, subscribe and comment on what you thought of it. Rest in peace all who have lost their lives to gang violence.